So we've got a panel, we've got a mix, joining online and in the room. So we'll just do some quick introductions. I'm terrible at remembering to forward the slides. So I am Jenny Newgart. I work for the Board for People with Developmental Disabilities. And for the last 5 years, we've done a civic project. Civic stands for Center for Youth Voice, Youth Choice. And there are 11 states across the country that have a youth ambassador program. So you'll hear from Ashley, Jordan, hopefully Junior will make it. There are youth ambassadors, a couple of our youth ambassadors for the state. The idea was parents and young adults really should be hearing from the youth because youth are experiencing a lot of emotions. They have a lot of feelings about guardianship or support decision making, and they should be at that age part of the process, talking about it, what's going to work for them and their family. So that's what we're doing, is spreading the word. And then we're going to have a parent perspective as well. Ashley, you want to introduce yourself?
Is the mic on? All right. As you all know, I'm Ashley Matthew. I was the former chair of BPDD, and I'm a very bubbly person with autism. And I'm also on guardianship, so I have a very unique perspective. And if I crack some jokes, it might be a little bit more entertaining. So,
Do you want to talk about guardianship, like why you're on guardianship?
okay. So I'll tell you the story. Okay. So my mom was at a dance and some good looking boys were after me. And she said, and the coach said to the Special Olympics coach said to them that basically that I should be put on guardianship because guys were after me. So what ended up happening was my mom got my SSI paperwork. My mom got everything taken care of. Obviously, she didn't know it was 2015 and supportive decision making had not happened. But basically, I was told that all my rights would be not taken away. In reality, my rights got taken away. I couldn't shoot a deer. I have to be asked if I have to get consent from my parents to get married. I have to do a lot of things that, people with disabilities should have their rights. How many of you want a boyfriend someday?
Or girlfriend.
Or girlfriend or significant other? How many people of you want your parents to tell you what to do? I don't see any hands. How many people want to be able to drive someday? Okay, I see a few hands. Okay, well, guardianship limits some of those choices, and you should be able to ask people in your life, like friends or family, like support decision making, if something is good or bad, instead of having someone kind of dictate, like a parent or a guardian and stuff like that. But that wasn't open to me. What I describe guardianship is being locked up in a box that you can't make decisions. When people with disabilities make choices, they are more happier. How many people when they get to pick what they want are happier? Raise your hand. How many people get upset when people tell them that they can't do something or if they get yelled at? How many people are happy? Oh, I see no hands. Okay, so the trick question. So we want to make sure that we have voices. We can stand up for ourselves. We can say no. How many people in this room feel like it's hard to say no to people that we care about? I know I have had people in my life that I really care about, and then I have to say no to them, or I have to stand up for yourself. It doesn't feel good to stand up for yourself because then you feel like, there's an imbalance. But you have to stand up for yourself because you have to be able to make your own choices. And that's what supportive decision making does. So I encourage everyone to get supportive decision making because I'm still in guardianship and I don't know how long I'm going to be in guardianship. And I really want everyone to be able to make their own choices, and that it feels more freeing to have your own choices. So that's all even though I was kind of railing on, that's kind of all my story, and I hope it inspires many.
Thank you, Ashley. You can hang on to that or give it to Patty. Patty can introduce herself.
So, hi, I'm Patty Becker, and I am a parent of someone who has chosen to use supported decision making. I am also, I participate in Wisconsin Survival Coalition, so I'm a Survival Coalition co-chair and connected to this little party you guys have every year through In Control Wisconsin. So, our story is that I learned about supported decision making in 2010, I think, when we had Jonathan Martinez come. So we'll talk more a little bit about that. I think what I hope people take away today is there's a range of options for us to help the people we care about who can't always express their decisions in the same way other people can. Like there's a multitude of ways to help support them in different ways versus jumping directly to something that can be kind of extreme.
So Patty, as
Microphone.
usual, like kind of paved the way in her school with her son with supported decision making. So she's a great voice to have on the panel. Jordan, can you hear us?
Yeah,
We
can
can't
you
see,
guys hear
but-
me okay?
Jordan, are you there to share your story?
Yeah,
Yeah,
are you here to, can you hear me okay?
Is he muted maybe or?
no, I said yeah. Okay, hang on. Okay, okay.
I think you guys have something wrong on
He's
your
I'm ready.
like an amazing story. We-
Hi,
we
my
couldn't
name is
write it
Junior
better than-
Sotelo. I'm from West Dallas, Wisconsin. I'm a junior at UW Milwaukee, and my major is journalism. When I
Hey,
graduate, I hope
Junior,
to
I
be
think,
sports.
I think they're having
Do we
some
want-
trouble on their end.
I'm sorry, what?
I think they're having some trouble on their end, Junior.
But can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I'm on Zoom, so I can't hear you.
We can't quite hear you yet.
Oh, maybe he can't hear you because you're not mic'd.
Oh, I
We're
can
trying to get
hear
it
you.
worked out, Jordan, so we can hear you.
I think Junior is talking as well.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, can I start with my story?
I think they're having some trouble on their end, Junior, so just wait a minute.
Just to get a little temp in the room, how many folks have heard about supported decision making before? All right, how many of you have gotten a letter from your school district that in the last year? Like, do you have anyone transitioning to 18? This is what always my curious, because there's literally a box to check in an IEP that says got guardianship. And I want to check, and I always want to know which districts got rid of the box. So maybe no one got the letter. You wanted to go.
Yeah,
Back in to do his whole story in one swoop.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear us, Jordan. We're gonna go and come back to you when it gets worked out. So what is supported decision? Come on. Is it on? My poor technology skills. Oh, are you doing that? Okay. There we go. Oh my gosh. All right.
The tech guy.
I would never agree to a session without a tech guy in the room. All right, supported decision making is a set of strategies that help individuals with disabilities have more control over their life and future. It involves family and friends working together with individuals to support them in making complex decisions. Ashley, what do we think of that? What's the plain language version of what I just said?
It's how we make decisions and choices. So if I were to, for example, if I were to wanting to get my car fixed, I would probably go to my dad or whatever. If a friend wanted to talk to me about a boy problem, would she go to her mom or would she go to a parent? Answer the question. Does anybody know? Yeah, mom. Yeah, mom or a friend. Who
We might get
who
along
would
with
you go to? Does anybody know? Probably a friend, right? Because you probably really like the boy and maybe your mom doesn't like him, right? So you probably go to a friend. So that'd be like supportive decision making. If you wanted a haircut, who would you go to? Hairstylist or your mom? Perfect. So that's a way of using supported decision making that we all use, and that makes it very easy to use. So supported decision making is what we all use, and we should be able to make choices just like everyone else. Who wants to make choices in their life? Who wants someone telling you what to do? Oh, I don't see anybody saying yes. Well, you want to have someone telling you what to do? You want to live on your own? Well, that's someone not telling you what to do. That's awesome.
All right. So Ashley is really big on plain language, as are a lot of us in the disability world, because we know a lot of stuff that we come across is not really plain language. It takes a lot to figure it out. So yeah, in plain language, it's how we all make decisions. So when you're not familiar with something, what do you typically do? Maybe it's relationships, medical care, car repairs. If you get stumped on something, what do you do? Anybody want to shout it out? Ask the expert. Who's the expert? What?
Alexa.
Alexa. It depends.
I
If
thought you were going to say you.
Well, that probably would work too. Just ask Patty. But if I were to have car problems, I would go to my brother-in-law because he can fix anything dealing with cars, or even just show him this is what they say I need to do. Does this seem right to you? If I need help with like difficult financial things that are above my head, I go to my sister. She works for a bank. Her mind works that way. So we all go to different people for different things depending on what the issue is. And that's really the same concept as supported decision making. You don't have to pick one person that's going to help you. You can pick multiple people depending on what you need support with. Ashley, how about this one?
All right. So what do I do if I make the wrong decision? What if you meet, oh, here's an example. What if you meet a guy that you dated online? What should you do? I would say bring a friend. So if you get an unsafe situation, and always have your phone so you can, if it's a bad situation, you can call 911. So what would you do if you made a bad decision? That's what it'll be okay, because if I was to go on a blind date and I was online dating, then I would just bring a friend along, and then if I need an emergency, I'd just call 911. So it's okay if your egg cracks. So that's kind of a metaphor. So it's okay if you make the wrong decision. I guess it just also matters, just as long as you're not putting yourself into a dangerous situation where that person has impulse issues or that person has anger problems, and you're not putting yourself at risk. As long as you're making decisions that are safe, you should be okay. But it also, right, Jenny, depends on how big the decision is.
Mm-hmm.
And then how big
We all make mistakes.
and
Everybody.
guardianship does not keep you from going to jail. So if you do the crime, you do the time. That's one thing that it will not prevent you from. So we all have to be respectful. We all have to try to make the right choices, and listen to people around us that help us, whether it's a therapist, whether it's, a friend, a family member, you know what I mean? So that's one thing. But we should all be able to make our own decisions because then we will be happier and healthier. Who would be happier and healthier if they made their own decisions? Okay, I have hands raised. Who doesn't want to make their own decisions and be unhappy? I don't see any hands raised. We all want to have a fulfilling life. We all want to live on our own. We want to have a boyfriend or significant other or whatever partner you want, or you want a friend to hang out with. We all don't want to be lonely. We all want to be included, right? And we all want to be accepted for our differences, right? So that's the thing about supported decision making. So I know I kind of went on, but that's in a nutshell.
Okay, Jordan is connected.
Can you hear me okay?
There we go. Yay. Yeah, introduce
And
yourself.
I think Junior's also online
Oh,
as well.
great.
As well, because I was talking with him.
Okay.
He was trying to share his story as well, but I was talking to him as well when we were both when I was talking to you before, because we could hear you guys, but you couldn't hear us.
Yeah. Why didn't you tell us about yourself? And I told him you had a really amazing story.
So, hello everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but this is the next best thing. I'm Jordan. I'm from Auburndale, Wisconsin. I am 23 years old, and I found out about supported decision making and guardianships about 6 years ago at this very same conference. I literally I attended this conference virtually for the first year because of COVID, and that literally next day I had my um guardianship supported decision making hearing. I didn't know that it was gonna be falling on the same day, but I basically told my parents that what I learned at this session of supported decision making and how it really was impactful to me. Like I said, I hope this doesn't affect me later on in my life, because I was 18 at the time, and lo and behold, the next day, that's what this um, court hearing was. And my parents went to court the next day without me, and they said, "Hey, this is what he was talking at the supper table about last night." And they basically halted the court hearing so they could come to get me from school, and kind of I had to go in front of a judge and say why I had the opportunity to um hunt and to vote and different things. And I'm just so happy that I at the 11th hour I convinced the judge, and I convinced the rest of the people that were around me that I was capable to make my decisions.
Yep, that's right. Thank you for sharing that, Jordan. The day before, that's incredible, and that you were able to pull it off. Junior, how about you introduce yourself? Unfortunately, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
What? Can you not see me? My screen's on.
Oh, it's not that. Yeah, they're seeing the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Junior Sotelo. I'm from West Dallas, Wisconsin. I'm a junior at UW Milwaukee, majoring in journalism. When I graduate, I hope to become a sports announcer. Something I like to do is to go to sporting events and watch sports on TV. I use supported decision making because I want to learn how to make my own decisions instead of my parents having them make them for me. With this agreement, I have the opportunity to keep practicing making my own decisions with the support of my parents, and it will help me in the future to be more independent and responsible.
Perfect, thank you. So we skipped ahead a couple slides if you're following along, Junior.
Yeah, I'm following along.
Okay. So, Patty, I was going to have you talk about this one, how thinking about how your other children make decisions who maybe don't have disabilities.
Sure. So yes, I'm a parent of two kids. And they are, for funsies, 14 months apart. So this was my kids have had parallel or the exact, so they function like twins, right? They were in the same grade. They went into kindergarten at the same time. They graduated at the same time. One of them using an IEP, one of them not. So we always joke that we had my own little experiment, right? People would tell me everyone's included at your school. And I'm like, actually, no. I can tell you that you are segregating some things because they weren't having the same exact experiences, right? So to the point of how do we make decisions or how do we help them make decisions, we've had to practice that throughout, right? William, who is my son and says I can talk about him today. William needs a little bit more support in processing, plain language. What does that mean? If I pick this, what are the potential consequences of that decision or benefits of that decision? We need to sit for a minute, come back to that the next day, right? In the same, my daughter, whose name is Evelyn, who is also someone who makes decisions, right? Both my kids, they're 21 and 22 at this point. So as they were coming up, right? Evelyn, what do you want to do to make sure you can have food and a job and all the things, right? Well, how do you want to make those decisions? So what I'm getting at is each of them have an individual option, right? For Evelyn, I can hand her a list of things, show her a couple of videos, look around you and say, here's one experience of how you might buy a house, right? She might play Sims and learn how to make all kinds of home decisions in her Sims world, right? Will's not going to do that. It's a different experience. So what I'm saying is every kid, every human makes decisions in different ways. And what is great about Wisconsin's landscape of ways to help people be supported in those decisions is you can find what's the right fit. Okay. I'll also just add that we talk about supported decision making often related to people with disabilities, but there are, and Jenny will get into this, there are often aging adults, right? People who get older who will have a guardian in their life who could potentially be using supported decision making. So as we have aged as I've aged, as my kids have aged, there is this moment of I'm like, I need some supported decision making agreements, right? In the event that something might happen, I would like to know that there won't be guardianship in the emergency room applied to Patty Becker, right? I mean, these are the things. So shouldn't be treating one human's ability to make decisions or supporting them to do it any differently, right? Our kids grow up to be adults. We support them to be adults in whatever way we can.
Right, exactly. So we don't want to just not give our kids with disabilities those options, just support them in a different way. So we know when it comes to guardianship, there's a lot of emotions involved in it, and how you feel that might drive you to that decision because it feels so much safer. Obviously, you love your kids. You want to make sure they're protected. You are afraid of what might happen if they make a bad choice, and I'm not there to make sure nothing bad happens. And some concern, like what are the consequences if they were to make a poor decision or a mistake? Like Ashley said, we all do that and we learn from it. Patty, were these some similar feelings that you had, or were there others when you were figuring out what you wanted to do?
Well, certainly. So I'm just going to say, I think fear and concern come from love. I'm going to put that out there.
Or what?
Fear and concern come from the love, right?
Yes, it does.
So it does come from a place of, as a parent, as anyone who is raising a human in whatever capacity, we want to help we want to help them be the best they can, right? We do that from a place of love. Out of that comes a fear that something's going to happen and they're going to be harmed. It is certainly a reality for parents of kids with disabilities to frankly, experience a lot of pain, right? And how the world treats your kid in the places where people say it's fine, they'll be fine, right? But we all know that the world isn't always as welcoming, that there are often people who will take advantage. And some of our folks make decisions quickly, right? So I think guardianship always in my head was like, oh, maybe that's the way to create that barrier between me, like between that choice and the eventual event that could come from it, right? I will say that Ashley cleared that up for me real quick one day in the beginning of this project, actually. Was my thing with Will was that William is very sweet, he's very friendly. He's also wants to be very helpful, right? To the point of sometimes that might mean someone's taking advantage in different ways. And we had seen that in his comeuppance in middle school and high school in different ways. So as he got closer to 18, it really did come from a what can we do to make sure if someone calls you and says, hey, buddy, I'm going to drive my car over, pick you up, and we're going to go rob the gas station, and you want to be friends, you're going to go, how do I keep that from happening, right? And you may not remember this, but you looked at me one day and said, he's going to get in the car whether you're his guardian or not.
I did. You did. And the same thing goes for if someone wants to text a guy that their parents don't want them to text, they will do it anyways. I have done that before.
Yeah, a piece of paper cannot stop some things.
No, and then you're gonna find out that that the person probably was unsafe or had impulse issues, and then you'd be like, okay, my mom was right, and then Patty will be like, I was right.
Yeah, that's the best moment.
I thought we would just get a good laugh about that.
It's true. So I think that's the like we can't control for everything, but you can control for helping to build relationships for your kids with trusted adults, right? People that they're going to know. And Jen asked me questions about, so I'll answer that later. But it is around finding people. And I think that there is less fear, less concern around someone being in a harmful situation when you know there's people with eyes on them and people who know and who are going to check on them, right? So story to this, William works at a grocery store with a limited amount of job coaching on one day. And this was a thing, this is when I knew we were doing it, right? So there is a certain task at the grocery store that he could do and he has done. However, the assistant manager told his coworkers, William can't do that because he's afraid. The manager was not in the space then walked away, and his coworkers came up to him and said, dude, are you afraid of doing this one thing? And so what I'm saying is that he built trusted relationships. He learned he could trust people. So for them to help that manager no, William can do that. It's you who thinks he's afraid. He's not. His peers and his coworkers were able to help advocate for him in that way, right? So I didn't need to be the guardian's going to get a call because William's not putting the stuff back the way he's supposed to. It was just happened in that situation like any other person who works at that grocery store, right?
So we know you're going to worry. There's nothing that's going to take that away for any of your kids, frankly. But Patty, what were some of the things that you worried about with, 18 coming up? Those are like three big ones, but there are other concerns parents have.
No, I have to did you see the breath I had to take? I don't like to think about all the concerns.
Yeah, right.
But I think it is that it's around just the decisions, right? Financial responsibilities and what's going to happen through that. What's your relationship going to be like with the bank? You're going to think about all those things, right? Are we going to get to the doctor? Are we going to be able to talk to the doctor? That's another one, right? In the magical day of 18 when everything shuts down in your health epic chart and you can no longer see your kid's stuff, that kind of moment, right? You're worried you're going to be cut out, I think is the other thing. I'm not going to be able to help him when he needs me to help him or when he wants me to be in the room. And we tend to think guardianship gets you through every door, right? What's true is your kid or your person gets you through every door. People are again, regular medical appointments. Literally we instead of having the guardianship and I get to get all the records, we just tell the doctor, right? Or when someone comes to the waiting room, if it's a person we don't know, calls William's name, I very openly say, do you want me to come with you or do you want me to wait here? And I usually have to do that one time, right? But and I encourage you all to do this, like overtly deferring the power in front of somebody you're with in the community will only help more people be able to benefit from supported decision making and being seen as people who can use their voices, right? What a concern.
Sure.
Dave.
Jordan, you had a comment on this.
Yeah, as somebody who has a full-time job and has the privilege to make my own decisions, my parents were worried because they got it rushed to them so quickly, and I've had a few different surgeries over the past couple years since I've used this. So I think it helps me that I work in a medical facility that when my parents come to the doctor's office, for instance, with me, like people already see that I have a name badge on and they don't question me, kind of like what Patty was saying. But my parents basically do the same thing. Do they want to come in the exam room with me, or even when I'm at the bank, they ask me how much I want to withdraw. Those are some of the concerns that they had when they signed this agreement, because they literally got it told to them like 24 hours in advance before I went to court. So this question, I could go on for days about some of the concerns my parents had, and I'm grateful that I talked on them through um these concerns, and they let me make my own decisions. And kind of like what Ashley was saying earlier, you gotta take a risk to get the reward. So that's why I'm so grateful that I can share my story and my situations with you all today.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. So I think we've made it very clear how important it is to youth to make their own choices and have support. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So like, with guardianship, you can't get married or have kids.
It depends. So we'll talk about the range of options. There are a list of things that a parent could say, it's okay with me if they sign a lease, get married, vote. I think hunting and fishing license has to be approved. So there's like a list of things that, you know, maybe they have concerns in just a couple areas and not others. But we'll go into detail because the judge doesn't always honor that. So that it's a risk. But the other thing I want to say before we get too much further is that some kids do need guardianship. It's we don't mean to make it sound like it's a bad option, you're a bad parent if you choose it. The problem is most parents don't know that there are other things. So that's why we have a session every year about supported decision making here. We try to hit all the conferences. So there are absolutely times when some youth will need a guardian, and that's okay. But some of the reasons, if you're here, you're interested to rethink it, is you avoid that public declaration of incompetency, meaning if you take guardianship of somebody, they have to go to court and in front of a judge hear that they are incompetent. Do you remember that, Ashley?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Of course, I'm the loud one and I still have to put the mic on. Yeah, I like to make jokes about myself. So anyways, yeah, they basically told me I was incompetent or whatever. Yeah, and now I'm a peer mentor, and I was chair of BPDD, and I did a lot of good things with that. I got in Love on the Spectrum, the finals. So I mean, telling me I'm incompetent when, you know, and I would consider myself being very socially right and stuff like that. So the doctors were wrong. The judge was wrong. I was incompetent, but you know, I had already gotten guardianship and stuff like that. And now I'm like a mentor. I will tell you, all my friends come to me for advice. I'm the one who they come to, listen to them. And I'll listen to them for an hour because I have compassion, I have empathy and stuff like that. But you know, at 18, I probably wasn't making the right decisions. But you know what? How many people at 18 make the right decisions? Raise your hand. Okay. 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 Now I'm 29, okay? So I'm probably make better decisions now, but we all make mistakes, and if they would have known that, they maybe wouldn't have put me on guardianship. But again, it comes out of love. It comes out of fear. And yeah, I got to tell you a real funny story. I know it's kind of like go rambling on, but my mom, when she went and we did a paper shredding thing, they had a paper that said Ashley's mom is a helicopter mom,
Oh,
which means a hover, that she wants to protect me. But how many people, if your moms out there, how many people like to hover around their child to protect them, but they have disabilities or without disabilities? So it comes out of love. But yes, everybody at 18 is probably, but no one should ever be called incompetent. That's one word. It's like the word, what is it? Able-bodied. Who likes the word able-bodied? Because there's people with invisible and visible disabilities, right? What's the definition of able-bodied? Doesn't mean, right? Because I'm autistic doesn't mean I have to deal with less struggle with someone with a physical disability. So the whole incompetency, the whole able-bodied thing is, we need to start looking at people's strengths and what they're good for. Now I'm a peer mentor and I'm doing all these things instead of looking at people's incompetencies. Larry, you had a question? All right, do you want me to bring the microphone to you? Okay.
Oh,
This able-bodied stuff, that's a relative thing. What's normal? What's able-bodied? That depends on who you ask. That depends on how you want to define references. I think it needs to be pointed out there is no real universal reference. It's all, what's the word? Relative. If you want my definition of able-bodied, it means there's nothing wrong with the person medically, mentally, anything. Perfect mind, perfect body. And the only one, to my knowledge, that has that is God himself. Everybody else, you know what I mean? Falls short of that reference. So who of us? So I think that's a silly term because we all have our strengths of goods and bads and weaknesses. So I think that word should be thrown out.
Thank you very much, Mark.
thank you.
All right, give him a round of applause.
All right. So other issues that come up with guardianship that you might not expect, people will tend to deal with the guardian and not the person. And again, that sort of cuts them out of making some decisions because really, even if you have guardianship, you are still supposed to be working with the person and making sure that how they feel is taken into account. It's not just a unilateral, I'm going to make the decisions and you're going to deal with it. But just by way of being a guardian, people will deal with you instead of the child. It's sort of like every time I go to buy something and I'm with someone, they hand the change back to the person with me, like I paid, that's my change. You have to consider the time and expense. There are some resources that people have found to help with the guardianship that lower some of those expenses, But most of the time you're going to a lawyer, it can be a couple $1,000s to go through the process. And it's pretty onerous. You have to do a lot of work between the hearings. You have to get psych evals, all those kinds of things all have to be done. And to your point, Zachary, courts don't always follow your wishes. So you may go in like, oh, I know about this list and I want to make sure my kid can do XYZ. You can ask for that, and maybe you'll have a judge that's agrees with that and is okay. Or maybe this is a judge that's all or nothing. The problem is you don't know. So you can't guarantee going in that they will be able to preserve certain rights. And people don't know that. So sometimes they've been quite shocked. It's difficult to change or end. Again, it's a legally binding thing. Do you have a question? Oh, they're over. Uh-huh.
I have a 23-year-old daughter. Yo como madre decidí tener los decisiones con apoyo para ella. As a mother, I decided to have the support decision making for her. Yo siempre iba a una organización que se llama ALA, pero hasta la fecha voy y ahorita estoy trabajando aquí en la organización de ALA, también está aquí. I was always going to an organization, well, I'm still going there, and I work with them, it's called ALAS. Es la organización for the families. Pero antes que no trabajaba allí, yo siempre iba a los talleres. But before, when I didn't work there, I used to always go to the workshops. Entonces siempre me llamó mucho la atención de lo de decisiones hechas con apoyo. So it always caught my attention, this topic about supported decision. Y yo siempre, desde antes de cumplir a los 18 años, yo decidí que eso era lo que yo quería para mí. And I always thought, even before my daughter turned 18, I said, this is what I want for my daughter. Aunque ella tiene deshabilidad intelectual y no es verbal, y pues tiene su entendimiento y sus motores, todo su funcionamiento es limitado. Even though she has an intellectual disability and that she's nonverbal and all her development, like motor skills are all delayed. Pero yo, como dijo la jovencita, ella, ninguna persona a los 18 años, en mi opinión, está completamente desarrollado, y menos una persona con discapacidades. Yeah, and then so I agree, like the young lady said over there, no person at 18 years old is fully developed, and even less if they have a disability. Entonces, pues yo siempre huía de la tutela versus otras alternativas, como por ejemplo decisiones hechas con apoyo. So I was always hearing about, guardianship and other alternatives like supported decision. Entonces yo decidí que la tutela no es ni para todos los niños y tampoco la de decisiones hechas es para todas las personas con discapacidad. And I thought, guardianship is not for all children, and neither is supported decision. Entonces, hasta la fecha yo les doy recomendaciones a las personas de que a veces vienen, pues yo voy a agarrar lo mismo que tú quieres, de lo de derechos patrimoniales. Yeah, so up to this point, I'm still, recommending to people because they come to me and they're like, oh, I'm going to choose the same thing you have, the supported decision making. Entonces yo les comento que primero tienes que aprender y saber cómo funciona uno y cómo funciona otro para saber cuál es el apropiado para tu hijo. And I say, first, you have to learn how one works, how this other one works, and then decide which one is appropriate for your child. Porque ellas, como ven que yo lo tomé, piensan que es el mejor, pero a lo mejor no es el mejor para ellos. Because they see that I went that route, they think that's going to be the best route for them, but maybe it's not the best for their child. Entonces, ahora tengo una pregunta. Now I have a question. Porque yo agarré lo de decisiones hechas con apoyo, porque yo dije de aquí a unos, no sé, 15, 20 años, ya mi niña quizás ya llegó a su límite de lo que puede desarrollarse más.
Yeah, so I chose the supported decision making because I thought maybe in 15, 20 years or so, my daughter's gonna get to the point where she reached her maximum development.
Pues, por ejemplo, yo, si yo decido quedarme con lo de supported decision making por siempre, o no hay ningún problema, o sea, funciona igual que hasta ahorita había funcionado y seguía.
So if I decided to go and stay with supported decision making forever, would that still work the same as it's been working for me so far? Nothing's gonna change.
That's correct. But as she matures and learns how to make choices better, you may find like we can drop this area, like maybe you're helping her, for example, in finances, and she sort of gets, she's more comfortable with that and can do it on her own. You could just drop it. Or maybe something comes up in the future that you hadn't thought of, you can just add it. And all it really takes is putting it on the form and getting it notarized. So yeah, it can be stopped, started anytime, things can be added, come off. So it will grow, essentially it will grow with your child. Yeah, Sam.
So with our attorney, that's the thing, it's guardianship, can you, there's some things that, like budgeting money and stuff like that, well, my paycheck just with alcohol or other stuff that it's not really essential, but my mom's a power attorney, but once I get out of that, problem, it can be, taken off for the, power attorney or.
Power of attorney is different. It is not the same as a guardianship. It's very specific, usually for financial or healthcare. But it can be changed easier than a guardianship. It's on the spectrum that we'll talk about. So let's skip ahead here.
I got it.
Oh, no, I appreciate the questions. So what keeps people safe? We know that caring and involved community members, friends, as many connections as you can make keeps people safe. A lot of times we hear the opposite with the disability community. They want to keep their network really small because they feel that's safer. Research actually shows they are not safer that way. The more eyes on that person, the more safer they are, the more people that are like, I haven't seen Patty in like a week. What's going on? Versus nobody even noticing. So it's an encouragement for growing the network as best you can, exposing them to as many things. Maybe if they're working, they build friendships with coworkers or get it friendly with the neighbor, those kinds of things. So it's not always also on mom and dad. So the law, it lets a person with a disability get help making the decisions without losing their rights, and they're always in control of it. So it is a law. It is a legal option since 2018. So we are encouraged. More and more people have heard of it. So we're not starting from zero. What the actual agreements do is not restrict the person's rights. They still make the decisions. They just have help. And it doesn't give supporters any new rights to make decisions. Which we have repeated over and over, but that is the, really the full spectrum of what supported decision-making is. And then this is the spectrum. You can see on the left, the least limiting, to the right, the most limiting. And we'll go through these, but there's release forms, supported decision-making, rep payees, the power of attorney we'll talk about, and then a limited or full guardianship. Full guardianship is all the rights. Limited, we mean you maybe retain some of those rights. Yeah.
I have a question for Ashley.
Yeah.
Ashley, I actually have guardianship, which my mom is my guardian,
Yeah.
and she actually lets me have a girlfriend, which I see your situation you know, that they don't want you to have a boyfriend at this time.
They have to have a boyfriend that they approve of. I can't go behind their back. Kind of thing, or get married, and stuff like that. So that's something that,
Bad for you, you know, I wish you could do more things that you wanna do.
yeah, you know, it was, you know, it's kind of a give and take with your parents, right? You have to kind of go with people that they approve of and stuff like that, you know. You know, if I was on my own, you know, I could kind of just you know, if I want to be with this person, I could kind of just do that. But when you're in guardianship, you really can't do that because number one, you don't upset your parents, and number two, you really don't have the legal right to if you wanted to go off and get married, and you know, which, you know, and then when you get married, you have to share one SSI, which I know that they're doing multiple bills about, you know, to change. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle with dating. That's why they have that whole show Love on the Spectrum, because it's definitely an obstacle.
Like with mine, me and my girlfriend are only 6 years apart in age.
Okay. So you the older one or she the older one?
A little bit, she's 6 years older than me.
Okay, so you go after older women. So I'm just I just trying to make conversation. I thought I would make it funny. So yeah, that's pretty funny. You will go after older women, but yeah, it's been a good conversation with you. I thought we'd get some laughs in the room. Maybe everybody's tired. We need to get waking up.
I think too. Maybe we need to get some coffee in the room.
Remember,
Yeah,
I
there
have
we
candy
go.
and fidgets up here, so if you need to energy. And you
Yeah,
can
feel free to
eat-
come up anytime. All right, so releases of information are the easiest way to go. A lot of times that's enough to get you in the room, in the door, so you're still aware of what's going on. Junior, how do you use release of information?
At the doctor's office, we had to sign a proxy form so my parents could still talk to the doctor and look at my mind chart. As I gotten older, I managed my own appointments and check in at the doctor's office on my own. Now I let my parents know when an appointment is coming instead of the other way around. In college, we had to sign a release of information so my parents could stay informed about my grades. I advocate for myself when I'm talking to the Accessibility Resource Center specialist. I've learned different ways to communicate with the ARCs and my professors to make sure I get the accommodations I need so I can be successful in all of my classes.
Great, thank you. There's also a rep payee as an option for somebody who gets Social Security benefits, somebody who is appointed to really watch over those funds. Not everybody needs one. Again, it can't be changed unless Social Security approves that. Jordan, you had a comment about this one.
So, before I had my job about 4 years ago, I was on a repay, and with my job, I'm currently don't qualify for SSI services anymore. But when I was on SSI repayee services, my parents were my repayee, and I kind of just had help. They helped me just make sure I manage my money correctly, and they're also my power of attorney for healthcare and finances. And kind of like Junior was saying about release of information, I have one for the bank and the dentist office and whoever needs one. So
Excellent. And you also have a power of attorney, right?
yes, power of attorney for healthcare and finances.
And so that's a power of attorney is something any of us can and should have, just in case something would happen to us. What if you can't make your own healthcare decisions? or financial decisions, what's going to happen. You don't want to leave that up to the system to figure out. Ideally, everybody would have one of these, but it's also a really good tool for somebody with a disability to choose who they want to have sort of those that control if they were in a situation where they were incapacitated. So we have a supported decision-making agreement, and whoever is helping you make decisions is referred to as the supporter. You can have more than one supporter. It kind of depends on how many things you want help with and who would be the best person to help you. The roles of the supporter should only be the following things. They should help the person understand what the options are. So sometimes words get complicated. We talked about plain language. Not a lot of things are in plain language. So your supporter should be able to help you figure out, to make sure you are understanding what you're making a decision on. They can help you research the information. Sometimes that's hard to find what you're looking for. Make sure they're putting it in a way that you understand it and that they can help you communicate the decision, not make the decision. So it's everything right up to making that decision. So you might, maybe they need help with a doctor that you've talked about beforehand, and you go to the doctor and have trouble talking about it for a variety of reasons. That supporter can say it for you as long as they are speaking on your behalf, what you wanted. This is a visual of the actual agreement. It's in your toolkit. That's why I didn't print the PowerPoints, because most of these you'll find right there in that toolkit. So you can get a sense of really how easy the agreement is. There's, your basic contact information, a bunch of yeses and nos. It almost sort of walks you through it to help you make sure you didn't miss any like big areas of life, that kind of thing, because you can't think of everything all the time. But again, you can update it very, very easily. So the agreements can be used for any decisions the person needs help with. If you need to update it, just make the changes, get it notarized. And that's really all it takes. When the person decides, I think I've got it now, I feel like my healthcare is under control, I can go to my appointments, make them, then you let the supporter know, I don't need that help anymore, and you dissolve the agreement. We talked about that one already. Yeah.
If you get a supported decision-making agreement, Mark here wants help with a lot of things. So one wheelchair provider didn't act like they wanted to honor that and wanted a POA. They have that right to do that generally. And how's that goes to at what point do these supported agreement? It was a Wisconsin supported decision-making agreement. Does the provider have to honor that? Yes. New motion.
It is a legal document. It's a law.
So does new
We've
motion?
never heard of it, so they
Does
don't
new
get it.
motion have to honor that?
Yeah.
Yeah, or are we forced to get a POA through an attorney?
So the question is, if you I think the situation is you need something in a medical capacity, healthcare related. The provider is saying, we don't know anything about the supported decision making. You need a healthcare power of attorney. That's our policy.
Yeah.
And my assumption here would be that provider is not aware that this is a state statute law in the same way that the healthcare power of attorney is in law, right? And that if you have, and this happened early on, I think we've heard different stories from different families where you have, I know a family that UW Hospital was like, we don't believe in that. And she said, well, let me call the governor, right? So, not everyone's going to know it's out there, right? The person you're talking to on the phone is going to know only what they've experienced so far. Not everyone's come to this session, right? And a lot of our forms, because for funsies, I also work at an agency. And when we're doing, I mean, I'll just say from that space, when we're doing intake, a lot of the forms that are coming out in the world, like I was talking about the IEP, they say surrogate or guardian. They don't say supported decision maker or supporter until the agency learns about the law and adds supporter to the list. So we just have to help people realize it exists. It's not that old, you guys. Supported decision making is like in 5th grade. It's not that old. Right.
But I'm glad you brought that up because that is something you may very well run up against. It is legal.
Want Larry there.
So that at that point, we reach out to Disability Rights Wisconsin, and they can also help navigate just so folks can have that option.
I have the same issue with somebody I'm helping support that Larry does, that the people do not know about the supported decision-making document, even though one has been signed and available copy to them. And actually, they've also signed a permission release form so that they can share information, but the service agency, which happens to be in Milwaukee, doesn't think that the things that the person is telling them are actually their thoughts, but they think it's coming from, in this case, the mom, that the mom is feeding the information to the person, and so they refuse to speak to the person except by phone. And the person doesn't understand this and doesn't, sent them emails and stuff saying, I want you to let my mom be part of these communications. And they say, no, we absolutely refuse to do this. And they are actually in the process of contacting disability rights and don't know where that's going to go, but it's delaying everything so much. The service delivery is in this mess all the time. So this is something that is happening around the state and is causing all kinds of grief.
I would make sure I had the state statute at my fingertips so that they know full well, this is legal. This is a legal document. Here's the statute. And I do think contacting Disability Rights Wisconsin is the best first step. Yeah. Sure, yeah. That's all right.
Carl Peterson, Dan Silva, and the family care I've been working on.
Do you have a guardian or
Yeah, guardian too.
not
Mhm.
working out?
It's okay.
So everything,
And the
everybody's got.
family care too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you very much, Carol.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Carla? Okay, Carla, here we go. Okay, got to hear the question. Okay, so.
What do you do for a guardian who, every time I ask her for money, I get this. What do you need it for? Well, certainly not to go get drunk. I need it to go buy groceries and food.
Mhm.
Or I need it for clothing and food, I mean.
So in the case of a guardianship dispute, there are processes, right? But I'm also going to add that in the case of power control, right? So I've got a situation at my house where somebody always wants money because that Fortnite has a new thing that comes out with a new skin like every 20 seconds. Did you know Scooby-Doo's in Fortnite now? I learned that this week. Yeah. So no, I know you don't, but I'm saying like there's always going to be a thing, right? So what in my William and I have a situation where he uses a card that gets loaded and with dollars, and he and I decide kind of where are the boundaries of what you can buy and where it can go. And there's always asks for more money. And we've had to sometimes, full disclosure, a little bit of therapy never hurts. Right? So we can talk a little bit of therapy, like a third person is, I think, important in a supporter relationship who can say, neither one of you is being irrational here. This is in right. So, because sometimes it becomes a power struggle between a guardian or a support decision maker, whoever's in that spot. So having another voice to talk about it. I hear your words. So, and what I say is that in any relationship, we're going to have some spots. So we just have to think about what are the strategies long-term to develop.
The other
the
thing
parts.
to think about with the guardianship is that guardian is responsible for tracking every penny so that they can't be accused of taking your money. So they really do need to know if you're spending $25, they have to document that. It's part of the guardian's duty to track your income. It's one of the things that they have to do. If you ask for $20 to spend on something, they have to write that down. They have to document everything. They don't want to get accused of stealing your money or using your money improperly. It's part of what's required as a guardian. That's the other issue with guardianship is until recently, there hasn't been training. So people are becoming guardians and never knew what they were really signing on for. It's hard. It's very detailed. There's a lot of work to it. So now there is guardianship training if you plan on being a guardian that sort of teaches you everything that you're going to have to do as a guardian.
So she has to put down on, I have to track your money for, if you want shopping for clothing, then she puts clothing for that. But I can't even get any transportation. She doesn't want to drive me because she's.
Oh,
It's too
yeah.
far to Hayward. Oh, it's 45 miles northeast of here. I'm not driving 45 miles. It's too far either way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm all invading.
Well, and that is one of the downfalls of guardianship. It's, yeah, maybe.
The scarcity of a
Yeah,
northern
right.
Wisconsin transportation service, so your guardian doesn't have to be the
Doesn't
driver.
exist.
That's right. That's, I think, the other space.
All right. Wow, we have to. So here's a couple things in the toolkit that if you write them down, sometimes that helps you think through. So what am I looking for in a supporter? What must this person have? They must listen to me. They must know how to talk to me in a way I understand. What's not so important? You can write that down there to maybe help you think of who it could be. And then this is just, you can fill in these boxes to help you think outside of parents. So typically, between 18 and 21, it's going to probably be your parents. That's normal. But at some point, you're going to want to try to branch out. Patty, Will does have somebody on his support decision-making agreement, right? That is not you.
Correct. We try very hard to not have it always be us, frankly.
And who do you tap for that?
Yeah. So William has someone we refer to as Uncle Bill. But it is his godfathers were part of his supported decision making group. And that is, again, that idea of helping outside of us, right? And Uncle Bill is someone we call Uncle Bill. He's not our brother. He's a family friend. So I think I really appreciate this chart because it helps you think about the people you know, and that you experience not only in the person with the disabilities direct relationship, but who else in the family? Who else does, and some of you may we happen to live away from my birth family, I guess I'd say. So it wasn't as easy as, hey, we can just run to grandma's. Grandma's 2 hours away, right? So building relationships for William that, and both my kids, you know, think about who that person is in your neighborhood that if the door is locked, your kid's going to go there to help get into the house. Or if the house goes on fire, where do you tell your kids to run, right? My kids go to Karen's house. And at 22, that William will still tell you, I go to Karen's house. Yeah, so you got to find those people. They might not always be family. And also I encourage, you know, our kids are growing up to be separate from us.
Exactly.
So how do we help them be separate in those relationships as well?
Grow their own networks. So where are we at? What time again? Are we at time?
2:15 or
Okay. These were just lists for financial supports, things you can do. You can put a limit on a debit card so they can't spend $1,000, technology things. A lot of these things address hangups that people have and why they want guardianship. But there are tools that can help regulate that take some of that fear and consequence out of it. All right, so the biggest thing I wanted you to know is you've got the agreement. You can also, anyway, the second to last slide has links to the actual toolkit. So you can print as many copies of that agreement as you want. And then the last slide has my name and contact information. I'm happy to answer questions. And if you would like to talk to any of the panel members, I can connect you. Just reach out to me.
There's candy and fidgets on the table.
Thank you, Junior and Jordan.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.